In December 2022, I made the decision that I was no longer going to drink, and going into 2023, I would be a sober girl. And in this video, I'm going to share how the past 7 months have looked, why I decided to stop drinking, and what's helped me actually make that change, given that I'm the only person in my friendship group and family, bar one uncle, that doesn't drink. If you're new to my content on my channel, hello, I'm Jodie. I'm a yoga teacher and a content creator, and I speak a lot about realistic well-being that's attainable and hopefully helps us live lives that feel good for us, however that looks. And I guess part of that, a big part of that for me, has become going alcohol free. Let's just dive into this. Why I stopped drinking alcohol, and there are actually so many different reasons, and I'd thought about not drinking for probably 2 to 3 years before I actually made that decision to really stop. But the main thing is how I reacted to alcohol the next day. So the next day I would have the worst headache, and more than that, I would feel incredibly anxious and low. Like my mood would just always be so low, and I don't know whether it's because I'd have a really big high off the alcohol and then a dip, and it was like the chemical reaction of it, but I just reacted to it really badly in that sense. And kind of in my teenage years and early 20s, I probably fell into like the category of binge drinking, and I just didn't notice it. And I think because it was such a normal thing to do, I just didn't question how it was actually making me feel. And I kind of got to the point in my mid to late 20s, I'm 28 now, that I was like, actually this behaviour really doesn't make me feel good. Around 2 years ago, I was having some drinks with friends in the evening. Can't remember what we were drinking, but I don't think I was drinking excessively. And then the next day, I'd gone into the city centre. I was living in Manchester at the time. There was protesters and quite a big crowd, and I just burst out crying. And I think it was like a mini panic attack. Like I couldn't catch my breath. I just felt really overwhelmed and really just not myself, and I haven't had that since. I've had a couple of panic attacks in the past, but I just knew that it was linked to the fact that my mood was low. I drank the alcohol the night before, and I think that that combined with kind of all of these times when I've woken up and not felt my best, they'd just come to a head, and I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Another big reason for me is that I was definitely using alcohol as a way to help me out in social situations. I definitely do feel a little bit anxious sometimes. It's something that I'm working on, and I realised that, you know, at weddings or at parties or wherever alcohol was kind of socially acceptable to have, I'd have it to kind of soften the blow and that awkwardness that can come from speaking to people that maybe you don't know as well. And I just realised that as part of healing and, you know, getting over my social anxiety and just feeling awkward in general around people, I probably do need to give up drinking alcohol, because I was using it as a way to be more likeable, more funny, more sociable, and I just realised that actually I don't really want to do that in the long term. Another thing that kind of links to that is that I think I'd built up a narrative in my head that I was funnier and more likeable when I was tipsy or drunk, and like I was a better version of myself and that people would like me more. And again, I think as I'm kind of working on self-acceptance, self-belief, building confidence in social situations, I don't want to keep feeding that narrative and keep relying on alcohol to make me this better version of myself. I want to feel comfortable and secure in myself regardless of any form of alcohol. Before I move on to speaking about like how the past 7 months have been and the things that have helped me, something that I just think is wild, how many people have asked me why, as if I'm the one, well I am the one that's the outlier. I just think it's crazy how, like, I've never done drugs or taken drugs. I don't do drugs. And I think if I was to do drugs, no one would question me stopping them. Whereas I've had questions from so many people about why I'm no longer drinking alcohol. Either that or they assume that I'm pregnant. Now I've stopped. Like when I think back to how normal and like acceptable it was to binge drink, especially like some of the states that I got myself in uni, I just think that we need to have a bit of a shift here, and I do think that things are shifting. I did put a poll out on my Instagram actually in terms of this video, and so many people said that they're, you know, also interested in stopping drinking and questioning, you know, why they actually drink in the first place. And I think a lot of it is because it's just become a norm. It's just become like a standard, especially in the UK, to be a drinker. And yeah, I don't know, it feels kind of empowering for me, especially as I am trying to like build up my self-confidence and I guess build up my sense of self. to kind of rebel against that narrative and identify that actually it really makes me feel like crap. I am not going to do it anymore regardless of what the rest of the world is telling me. In terms of the things that have helped me over the past 7 months, I definitely say it was a general life shift. Like, I came to this conclusion that I wanted to stop drinking after quite a long time period where I was drinking less, not going out as much. And I really focused on not thinking about the fact that I'm gonna lose everything that comes with drinking, but what I'm gonna gain. So thinking about the fact that I can have really nice slow Sunday mornings where I feel fresh, or, you know, being able to go on walks with friends and do loads of other things with them. So thinking about things that I can add into my life rather than the fact that I'm taking this one thing away. Something I didn't anticipate when I stopped drinking is how much I enjoyed it as a ritual. So that's probably the thing that I miss the most. So buying alcohol-free alternatives has completely saved me when it comes to this, because I really enjoyed having like a celebratory glass of Prosecco or champagne or a nice celebratory drink for any kind of occasion with family and friends. And now I've got an alternative like No Secco, or I think Clean Co do like a rhubarb gin that I'll have sometimes. That has been a godsend because it means that I can feel like I'm part of the celebration, the ritual, without having to drink the alcohol. So if you know that you're the kind of person that enjoys the celebratory aspect of alcohol, or at the moment you're maybe just drinking on special occasions, swapping that out for something that's alcohol free, and it is amazing how quickly this area of the market is growing. There are so many new alternatives. Like, every time I go somewhere, I feel like I'm seeing new zero alcohol options that look exactly, like pretty much identical to the alcohol version. So just finding whatever it is that you like, finding an alternative and using that as like your special occasion drink. Another thing that's helped me with this is being kind to myself, because in all honesty, there has been an occasion where I did have an alcoholic drink, and it was it was with my family. Everyone was cheersing and doing shots, and it was like, oh, Jodie, get involved. And I was like, no. And there was like this back and forth, and I ended up caving and I did a shot with everyone. In that moment after I did it, I can't tell you how much I beat myself up for it. I felt so sad that I'd got, I think that was in May or maybe even June. I think it was in June actually. I was really annoyed that I'd got all that way not having a drink and then I'd caved, and I just remember sitting there feeling really bad and like berating myself and just, I guess, being hard on myself that I hadn't stuck to my word. In that moment it could have gone two ways. I could have just been like, screw it, I'm gonna just carry on drinking, doesn't make that much difference anyway. But instead I could just kind of sat with it. I noticed that I was thinking these thoughts, and I just realised that actually it's okay. It is okay that, you know, it was one of the first social situations where I'd had that kind of pressure. It's okay for me to have that slip up. Like, it is okay. You know, it's probably a little bit different if you're doing this because you're heavily dependent and relying on alcohol, but I'm doing this more because of like my own health and well-being and just general healing. And yeah, it was a really good moment actually, because I realised that, okay, I can make a mistake, give myself compassion, and then carry on as normal from that moment and stick with my word again. Since then, I've been in loads of social situations where there's been moments where it's been kind of like, oh, have a drink, join in, and I've not felt the pressure so much. And I think because I was kinder to myself in that first moment where I did slip up, that it's kind of put me in good stead to know that I can, like, it's okay for me to not have a drink, if that makes sense. So if you do start this and you end up caving in a social situation or something happens where you do have a drink, don't beat yourself up. You're a human being. Sit with those feelings, notice what's coming up, and then know that you can start again in that moment. Like that evening, I didn't have another drink. I just kind of kept having whatever alcohol-free options were there. I'm going to finish on a couple of random practical things. The first one is to not always be the designated driver. Just because you're not drinking doesn't mean that you have to become a taxi service. You're likely going to be really tired at that point of the night when everyone else is like going home and is maybe drunk or tipsy or had some drinks. You're not going to want to give everyone a lift. You might feel the pressure too at the beginning of the night. I've definitely done this where I'm like, yeah, I'll give everyone a lift, I'm not drinking. And yeah, you're going to be tired, so don't do that. Another thing I found really helpful, especially for occasions like a wedding or if you're going to an event during the day where it's going to be quite a few hours where other people are drinking, is thinking about ways that I can replace that kind of energy and dopamine that I would have got from alcohol with other things. So for me, it's like listening to my favourite music, wearing an outfit that makes me feel really good, and doing my hair and makeup in a way that I like, doing like a workout, things like that, just thinking about other ways that you can, I guess, get on a similar energy level to those people that are going to be drinking. There have been times when I've gone out and I've just felt really flat, and I guess they're the moments where it'd probably be easier to then think, oh, I am just going to have a drink. So yeah, definitely thinking about that. That's really helped me, just kind of, I guess, just knowing that even though you're not drinking alcohol, you're still worthy of being there, and you're still worthy of having a really good time and showing up, I guess, with that kind of energy and that knowing. I honestly feel like I could speak about this for hours. I hope that I've kind of covered everything when I come back to edit this. It's such a big topic, and there are so many factors and things that come into play with this, but I hope that it's been useful if you're thinking about stopping drinking or drinking less. If you are, let me know in the comments, or if you haven't been drinking, let me know your experience. And yeah, I have to say, overall, the past 7 months have been really good in so many ways. It's really shown me that I can show up as me without alcohol, and not even kind of in those social situations where it requires alcohol, but even in day-to-day, like, it's had a really positive impact on how I feel in myself. And I guess kind of making that decision for myself, I think it kind of stems from that kind of rebellion against, you know, society telling us that it's really normal to drink, and just knowing that I kind of had my back with it. It feels really good. So yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new here for weekly videos, and I will see you in the next one.